In today's podcast, I want to discuss how the mind is so powerful that if you know what it's capable of manifesting, it can really turn things around for you in life. Now, I do this in my coaching, and this is my own formula that I have used to help other people in my coaching. Now, first thing is identifying the root of how your mind creates. So, everything starts from creation. By the way, if you're new, welcome to Eat Read Love podcast, where I discuss things in the mystic world where I have more freedom to talk about and not just focusing on astrology or tarot. So these are the things that I do outside of astrology and tarot. So the creation, sorry for digressing, the creation, it's all rooted with how your mind creates. It all starts when we were born, what we absorb. I believe that the mind is like a sponge. In its early stage, it will just pick up energy, thoughts of other people as well, meaning their own practices. It will adapt religion, it will adapt culture, it will adapt a mindset of the people around them, meaning it it's so powerful that it can just absorb, like this brain that we have, it just absorbs. And then once it has absorbed those thoughts, energies, cultures, beliefs, all those things, it becomes it takes its own form, and then now it creates. So you see what I'm talking about here. First it's just a sponge, then it absorbs, and then now the mind is creating. It can create, wonderful things. It can create destructive things also. How the mind is nurtured in the very beginning, the impressionable years, what's that? Since in the womb, right? That's why you have this different uh, practices where they listen with Mozart music, right? Because it lists the mind is already absorbing, and it's still in the womb. And once it's outside, now you're talking about interaction. Now you're talking about it hears, it listens, it sees, and all those things are now being programmed inside the mind. And there's a lot of studies about mind programming and how you can really what you think you can manifest, which I do believe in that also. But but not just like what you believe you will create, but you have to understand first what you can create. What's your limit? Because the limit that you have is basically what you have absorbed. But if you're capable of finding the root of how you have absorbed that, then you can now create limitless. These are now beyond your reach. You're going to become, well, it's not being superhuman, but your brain becomes super brain, a hyper focused brain, because you're going to break that part where it was set. So not everybody basically gets out of that setting. Yes, for a good terminology for that, is basically factory setting. We only operate on a factory setting. And then we can have our brain, our mind custom. But you have to find out first what is that factory setting. So let's just say your interaction with your mom and your dad, those are the two most important. So their factory setting basically now is passed on to you. Their train of thought, how they make decisions, mm, what they think about life, how they express love. So you're now getting that factory setting. If you pick it up and then you just practice it, and then you can pass it, of course, to your kids as well. So it becomes now, in the mystic world, we call it generational karma. Mhm. Now, how important is this for manifestation? I probably have digressed. Let me just put myself into focus. How can you use this once you figure out the factory setting? How can you, how can this help you? There's three stages for me when I teach people how to manifest: the creation, the preservation, and the destruction, or other people call it, would be transformation. I followed this, I adapted this belief from Trimurti. So, without really touching the subject of religion. So, the creation part is important, but the preservation is as important also for manifestation. And then the transformation or destruction is the same, equal. Okay, they're all equal. They're not a triangle, they're not a pyramid, there's no hierarchy there. They're all equal. It's a cycle, it goes around in circles with regards to manifestation. Now, the creation, going back, how does it help you? So, you go and reset your factory setting. You identify what works for you and what doesn't, or you can have a totally new way of thinking. And this is when you break generational karma. These are people who are like shakers and movers, I think is what it's called. These are people who sets a tone in the world. They're totally different. Those are the people who has removed themselves from that factory setting. They reinvented themselves. There's no trace of who they were as a child. So it's a totally new person that they created themselves. So one of my coaching, when I do my coaching, is that once you're a certain age, you should have a say already of who you are, what you are. Okay. But it's hard, of course. We have attachment to our past. It holds on to us. This is a breaking of your own shell that chances are you're not even familiar that you have. So once you've broken this, you're recreating yourself, reinventing yourself. Um, all those things that happen when you're a child, or early years, high school, college, all those are important to contribute to who you are. But all those are gone. You're not the person who went to this school. You're not this person. It doesn't mean that you no longer associate with those people. But what I'm saying is, like, you are now rebuilding yourself. You're going to put, the foundation of your life as a new person. Now, why is this important? Because what you're manifesting is cannot be manifested by the program that you received when you were growing up. Not unless you were trained as a, as young, like, let's just say right now your goal is to become a multimillionaire. When you were growing up, the mind being, being projected to you, or in your surrounding, you were not being bred as a multimillionaire. But the life experiences that you have now an idea of money, what it can buy, what it can do. So now you have an idea. It's like, oh, I want to be a multimillionaire. But the habits, the tradition, or anything that you grew up with wasn't built for that. So now you reinvent yourself, you recreate. In that process, you're destroying the old you so that you can be the creator. So you see now where I'm going here. So this is the part of manifestation where what you think you create, but there's a whole process to this. There's a whole processes like for manifestation. So remember, factory setting, right? Tracing your childhood, going back there. And this is not, like psychology of healing of trauma, not like that. You're not trying to heal yourself. There's a difference there. Oh, I'm gonna heal the child in me. No, no. For this manifestation, you're not trying to heal yourself. You're trying to delete yourself. You're going to forget everything. And then you are now new. So there's nothing to heal because all those are gone. Okay. Because we can go in this lifetime, of course, like we should be healing. Yes. But these are for people who understand that they accepted their, how they grew up. They accepted their experiences in life. Because once you have accepted all those, yes, you can continue healing. But since you have already embraced life on its own, now you are your own creator. So that's the first step, creation. I'll be discussing this more in a more future podcast. I just want to touch a subject because a lot of people do ask me about my method when I coach, the processes, and when I'm with my clients. This is where everybody has an aha moment, is that everybody promotes healing yourself, healing yourself. Well, I do advise people to heal themselves. But for me, it's more of you delete yourself. You accept, you delete, you let go. You're transforming, you're destroying that. So it's very unorthodox because in spirituality and mysticism, healing is very, very, very important. I'm healing. Okay, I'm healing. So let's just put that into context. But when you're manifesting, it's different. Does it make sense? The mind will operate differently when you are manifesting. And we're all here to manifest something in our life, whatever that desire is. In the next podcast, I will discuss furthermore with this process. So if you're listening, well, I'm very grateful that you're listening to Eat Read Love podcasts, and you can put in the comments if there's anything that you want me to discuss about my methods and my coaching. If you have any questions, feel free. That way, I can probably answer it in the future.